Hello creative friends, I'm Cheryl and welcome to the Stamping Squad. Today I'm going to show you a pocket card, and if you have seen these cards before, you know how great they are, and if you haven't, I think you're going to love this. So it is literally a card in a pocket. And so today we are going to be using these symbols of Fortune DSP. It's in the January to June 2022 catalog. And if you have it, you know how beautiful it is. If you haven't seen this paper, it is absolutely gorgeous. It has some gold foil accents on it. So that's what we're going to be using today. So let's take a look at all the pieces we will need to make our card. This piece of DSP is 6 inches by 9 1/4 inches, and it is scored at 2 3/4 inches and then scored again at 7 inches. And then along the bottom here, it's scored at 5/8 of an inch. And I will tell you, when I make these cards, I have the best luck with it fitting together, because we are fitting 2 pieces together. If I score this at just shy of 5/8 of an inch. All right, so just a little shy of 5/8 of an inch. We need a piece of coordinating cardstock that is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. We need a piece of basic white that is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, unless your paper calls for very vanilla, and then you would use that instead of the basic white. And the last thing we have is a strip that is 3/4 of an inch wide and 5 1/4 inches long. So those are the pieces. Let's get started. All right, the first thing I'm going to do today is to stamp my sentiment. And I just have a piece of scrap basic white cardstock here, and I'm going to be using Smoky Slate ink. So let's get that open. And I have a sentiment here that says happy birthday. Of course, you can use any sentiment that you want to, any ink color that coordinates with your designer series paper and your project. And let's see here. I'm going to put that right here. Happy birthday. That looks great. So let's move this out of the way. And today I'm going to use this tailored tag punch. You can use any punch that you have or any die cuts that you like to do your labels in. So we're just going to pop that out. And then I'm also going to take a piece of gold foil, a gold foil sheet. You will find those in the catalog as well. And I am going to punch out a piece of the gold foil as well. Okay, we can set this aside. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this, and I am simply going to cut it in half like this. Doesn't have to be perfect. If you've not done this before, you'll see why in a minute. And now I am just going to put a little bit of multi-purpose glue on the back of this, kind of in the top part right here, just over to the edge. And then I'm going to take my piece of gold foil and I'm going to put it on here, right like this. I'm going to line up the edges so the edges don't stick out, but the top is going to peek out like this. Now, I'm going to do the same thing with this piece of foil. I'm going to put it on the bottom. So let's get a little bit of glue here. And spread that around. It's a brand new glue, so it wants to come out quickly. All right, so I'm just going to set that on there, and then the glue is going to allow me to position this just the way I want it. So I'm going to pull it down just a little bit so it's similar to the top as far as the amount of gold that is showing. And I'm going to push it back and forth here because I don't really want it to show on the ends. I just want it to show on the top and bottom. And I'm happy with that. Look at that. Now, when somebody sees that, they're going to think you had two different sizes of punch to punch out the two different sizes there. But we know the secret that we just cut one in half and then glued it on. So I'm going to just set that aside. And then I'm going to bring over some of our other pieces here. This little piece of cardstock, let me just show you here. Here's the big piece we're using, and if I flip that over, that's what we're going to use to trim our little white piece of cardstock that's on the inside. So let me get my glue, put some glue on this, and I'm just going to put it near the edge, but I'm going to leave a little space. Sometimes I put it right up next to the edge, but today I'm just going to kind of have it be a strip with a little bit of white showing on that opposite side. There we go. Okay, again, I'm going to just set that aside, and here's my piece of coordinating cardstock. You see this soft succulent is in the paper, and why don't we go ahead and glue this on here. So we'll do that real quick. If you've never made one of these cards, I really encourage you to make one. It's such a something different, a really nice surprise for the person that you're giving the card to. Something with a little more interest than just your traditional card that is just folded over. I don't know if this would qualify as a fun fold or not, but I think it kind of is. So let me center that. Give it a good press. And there we go. Very nice. All right, so let's take our big piece of DSP that we're going to use to create our pocket. And I've already scored this. I gave you the scoring measurements earlier. And now what I need to do is cut a portion of it off. So I don't know that you can see the score lines on here, but there's the one that's running across at 5/8 of an inch, and this one right here that is vertical at 2 3/4. So here's the score line, and what I want to do, I'm going to miter this rectangle that's in the middle, and then I'm going to completely cut away this rectangle. Just like that. A little bit more, there we go. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So I'm going to find the score line here, and I'm going to miter. And then I'm going to cut this off right along the score line. Actually, I'm cutting right above the score line. We do that just so when we are ready to fold our card and make the pocket, it doesn't get too bunched up. If we leave those on there, it gets a little bit hard for it to fold. So we're going to take those off. Okay, now let's take our bone folder, and we are going to burnish these folds so our card will fold up nicely. And this side, and you'll notice that one of these side rectangles is large, one is small. So what we want to do is put this one, the larger one, on the inside and the shorter one on the outside, and the seam will go right down the middle. I mean, it doesn't hurt the card if you end up doing it this way, but if you put the larger rectangle down first and the smaller one on top of it, the seam will go right down the middle. So then this is just going to go right on here. And so you, the best thing to do is just kind of do a dry fit here and make sure everything lays nice and flat. If this seems a little too bulky here, you can always go in with your scissors and trim just a little bit more off this so this folds up nicely and will stay nice and flat. Okay, so I think I'm going to use some Stampin' Seal today. And this is an adhesive tape. So I am just going to put it right here along this edge. Remember, this is the longer, or the wider, excuse me, the wider of the two. So that's going to go down like this, but I also want to put some on this edge. That way it is closed securely, and it's not going to be flapping around at all. So this down, and then this. There we go. And then the last part is this. So I'm just going to put some tape along here. Now you could use liquid glue. You may need to go just a little bit slower because the glue does need just a minute to dry before you start handling this a lot or trying to put the cardstock and the greeting inside, all right? But because we use the tape, it's ready to go. Look at that, isn't that great? Okay, now you may remember that the card I showed you earlier, it's got a little place here where you can grab this and pull it out. So we want to do that on here, and there are a couple of things you can do. Today, I'm going to just use a 1.5 inch circle punch. You can use any circle punch you might have, or you could use dies to do that. You simply put the die on here, run it through your die cut machine, and that will cut a half circle for you. So let me get this up here, and I'm going to just snip this right here. Whee, and they come flying out. Let me set those aside for just a minute. Okay, you don't want to throw those little pieces away because we're going to take one of them. Okay, we're going to take this one and we're going to put it up the top of this, all right? And so how do we know where to put that? We're going to slip this right inside, just like that. And then that shows us where we want to put this little piece, all right? So for that, I am going to use some liquid glue. Just a little bit here. That'll hold it together. And I'm going to just slip it on there. And I'm just going to pull this out a tiny bit so I can more easily work with that a little bit, pushing it up just a tiny bit. And there we go. Look at that. Perfect. I love it. Okay, so now we need to decorate the outside of the card. And so we already did our sentiment, and we've got it all fancy with the gold foil. So let's now take a piece of metallic mesh ribbon, and it's silver. So it really complements this card. And I'm just going to take this and wrap it around the outside, and I'm just going to tie a knot. So I'm going to do this, start my knot, and then I'm going to use a tool that I love. These are called reverse tweezers. And I am going to use those to hold that because I don't have someone here to put their finger on it and hold it for me, but my tweezers can do that job. So then I'm going to take the ends here and finish my knot. Here we go. Just like that. And then I can pull my tweezers out. There we go. I think this mesh ribbon looks so beautiful with this paper. All right, then we have our sentiment. And let's see, do I want it? I think I'm going to put it just straight across. So to do that, I am going to use some dimensionals. Put a few of those on. And I think I'm not going to put one in the middle because this knot is going to be right in the middle. And it's kind of raised up, so I don't want to put a dimensional on there too because then it will be sticking up too much. So let me take the adhesive back off of these. Oh, how are you guys doing? It is hot here today. I'm in Southern California and we are having a really hot day. It's making me tired. But not so tired that I couldn't make a card, right? It's hot, it's a good day to stay inside and make some projects. So I'm just trimming off some of this extra. And there we go. This is just a gorgeous card. This is for someone very special, I think. Now, let me show you something else. So the first card I showed you was this one. And similarly, it has the mesh ribbon. But I did something different with the sentiment. I used a die from the Painted Labels die set to cut out the white. And then I used one of the Layering Circles dies to cut out this piece of gold foil to put behind it. So you can use any dies, any punches that you have, and make a really beautiful sentiment. So we've got these two. Let's see, I have a couple more here that I wanted to show you. This one says, "May your greatest wish come true." And on this one, I used the same punch, but I turned it vertical instead of horizontal, and then did the same thing with the gold foil, punched that out. And then finally, here's another one where I used the dies, and I don't know if you can see this, I used a smaller circle for this gold. I wanted the gold to just barely be peeking out here. I didn't want it to be too bold because I'm using this as a sympathy card. And let me just pull these so you can see the inside. On this one, I put the Designer Series paper trim at the bottom. And this one, it's on this side. And this last one, I think I showed it to you at the beginning, but there it is again. Gorgeous cards. So I hope you enjoyed watching me make these pocket cards. And what I really hope is that you'll pull out some of your DSP and make cards as well. Now, this is the symbols of Fortune DSP. It is retiring at the end of this month. This is June, and at the end of June, it will be retired. And it is 50% off right now. So if you like this paper, jump on your computer or your tablet or your iPhone and place your order. Order this paper because soon it will be gone. And it's a great purchase right now. So I hope that you enjoyed it today. Please tell your friends about the channel. We're working our way up to 1,000 subscribers, so then we can go live and we can talk in real time together. And I know that's going to be a lot of fun. So I hope that you'll subscribe and watch some of the other videos. All right. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.